This one, Mr. Paul Wang, currently is chairman of Li Guoding Foundation for Development of Science and Technology, and also ITRI's laureate. And he is long-serving in the semiconductor industry, and currently he has shifted slightly into financial sectors. So he has so much to offer today. The tabletop exercise team already learned from him in the past few weeks. So let's wait for his great comments coming up. The next honorable member is Professor管中閔. Currently, he is an academician of Academia Sinica. And more importantly, many people recognize he is a former president of National Taiwan University. And even if the term just for one, but he has made tremendous contribution to not just NTU, but also leading this education field in Taiwan, even if under different political pressures and also under different government. Professor Guan manages through his term and so far wins lots of support and also great overall prevailing in our society. So he has our full respect, and he himself is an economist. The next one, Professor Jennifer Wang, she just called me, she will be here shortly. Let me skip when she arrived. The next one I want to introduce Bill Stanton, our great friend. Former director of the American Institute in Taiwan, AIT, visiting professors at National CHANG University. He is my colleague back in National CHANG University, and he is known as an American ambassador to Taiwan for some time. And currently, after he retired, he remained and stayed in Taiwan for the last almost 16-some years. And I always call him, he is really a modern Taiwanese with us. Next, let me introduce Dr. Gao Shibo, also Professor Gao Shibo, who is Vice Chair of 21st Century Foundation. And he used to be sit in the cabinet as a minister without portfolio, and he was in charge of legal issue supporting the Prime Minister at that time. So with this, let me pass the mic back to Prime Minister Chen, so that you can start, give a comment first, and also probably later go into the presentation. Okay.
I think I better move to the stage, right? Okay. So good morning, distinguished guests. I think it's my great honor to be here, although I don't know much about the war game or the warfares. Actually, as our moderator just said, I have spent decades of my career navigating the water of the financial sector in Taiwan. But when it comes to the warfare or the war game, actually, frankly speaking, I'm a fish out of water. However, I know that in this digital age, we must see things from a different angle, maybe a total different angle. Take the English name of our foundation, Abacus. Maybe at the first sight, you feel unfamiliar with this word. But actually, Abacus is the portmanteau of the abacus, the ancient Chinese calculating tools, and apt, a term widely used in digital age. So this new composite word, abacus, implies that the new generation, I mean the young people, they should, they can no longer view the modern financial issue from the through the outdated perspectives. So I believe the same concept should apply when talking about warfare in the 21st century. I can still remember at the end of the 2018, about 6 years ago, at that time I suffered a brain stroke when delivering a speech at the National Taiwan University campus. But at that time, Professor Guam was not the president of the university. But at that time, I was hospitalized for more than 1 month in the hospital. But after being discharged, okay, thank you. So after being discharged, a television station invited me back to the same program, same program that I appeared on before the illness, and to comment on the same topic. You know, at that time, the very hot topic is Trump's trade war with China. So at that time, that was the 2019. I have a sign that reads, "The trade war is more than a trade war." The 2019, when I appeared in the television station. At that time, I stressed the importance of the warfare. The modern warfare is not confined to only one form. So if we only talk about the trade war from the viewpoint of trade, and focus only on trade, there may be no concrete and successful conclusion. Okay, and I think you all know that you are very familiar with the 孙子兵法. As the art of the war states, we first win first and then go to war, which means 胜兵而后求战. So in English, I'm afraid that we're lost in translation, but we normally translate it as win first and then go to war. So in other words, whether a country decides to engage in war depends on the likelihood of victory. Similarly, when discussing war games, we first need to think through all possible scenarios. So besides the military aspect, such as the finance, trade, technology, energy, and the food must all be considered. I believe that the Russia-Ukraine war serves a very good lesson. As we could see, after being expelled from the SWIFT and after the financial sanction was imposed, the Russia appeared to be paying a heavy price and had to seek alternative solutions. But on the other hand, you all know the so-called Black Sea Grain Initiatives. This was an arrangement arranged by the United Nations and the other neighboring countries in the Black Sea. So whether from the perspective of food supply, transportation, or insurance, the Black Sea Grain Initiatives did grant Russia time to catch a breath. Also, despite the sweeping sanctions imposed by the United States and the United Kingdom, Russia still managed to export oil and natural gas after the war broke out. Only maybe the buyers are different, but they still managed to export those oil or the natural gas. And even better, Russia, since last September, they become the main supplier of the natural gas to European unions. So while discussing the war game, we must first consider who is our rival? Who are the warring rivals in the forthcoming war? If the hypothetical conflict involves only Taiwan and China without external instigation, in my opinion, the probability of war seems very low, because according to the 孙子兵法, as we mentioned before, that normally we should bear in mind win first and then go to war. So Taiwan will prepare for war, but not seek out war. But as for Beijing, I think that maybe they are very confident about the war, the forthcoming war. But so far as I remember, that last year, the Financial Times had the report about President Xi Jinping. He told the European Commission President, his counterparts, I think maybe you all remember that export. He said the US is goading China into a military conflict over Taiwan. But Xi Jinping, would not take the bait. So the parties on both sides of Taiwan Strait, we all understand the 孙子兵法. So maybe the report appear on the Financial Times last year is not officially confirmed. But I think those remarks appear to be very reasonable and quite interesting. So you may ask, will China fall out as America pressures more, trying to back China into a corner? Well, my knowledge is so limited that I can only analyze from financial point of view. Based on the current balance of financial powers, I think and also considering the gap between China and America in terms of the financial powers, I think Beijing will choose to avoid a battle. But as the financial power gap narrows and the possibility of war increases, maybe there will be a war, but it may not occur before the 2028. May not occur before the 2028. in my view. So you may ask, when is the time? I don't want to make a wild guess, but if I must, I would suggest some indicators, like I think the certain percentage of the global trade is clear and settled in renminbi. Right now, I think you all know that that percentage will be in the neighborhood of the 5% of the total global trade is clear and settled in renminbi. But maybe the 10% of that amount would be a good indicator. And secondly, we will consider whether the CIPS, as you know, the cross-border interbank payment system, covers the majority of the top 100 banks in the world. And thirdly, whether the renminbi have been officially issued as a CBDC, the central bank digital currency. And finally, the BRIC system have been established and already in operation. Those are factors I think that we should take into account. So my dear friend, as I know, the tabletop exercise is based on a scenario set in 2029, which aligns with my repeated opinion these years that Beijing will not go to war before the 2028, considering the financial power gap and also considering the schedule of the central bank digital currencies. If my humble opinion somewhat counts, I hope during this tabletop exercise, we can thoroughly discuss various factors, including, but not limited to, the changes in the settlement proportions of different major currencies, according to the international organizations like the IMF or the SWIFT. And I also like to draw your attention to the most recent expansion of CIPS, the cross-border interbank payment system, especially regarding the number of the foreign participants of CIPS. And thirdly, I would like to draw your attention to the growth of swap agreements between China's central bank and their correspondents. China's central bank and their counterparts in the major trading partners. And finally, the last but not the least, the development of the BRICS payment system. Even I don't think it is very feasible. Well, I just named a few and just mention only a few of them. And I believe you are all the experts of the tabletop exercise. So you will better know those factors than I. So, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to apologize that I can only stay here until the 9:40 because I have another meeting about the strategic alliance with another foundation. So maybe due to the agenda conflict, I have to leave earlier. But I wish you all a very fruitful and successful discussion. and hope and wish this exercise great success. And thank you for your kind attentions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prime Minister Chen. Beginning of this particular move, we are so glad and so fortunate to have Prime Minister Chen lay such a solid foundation for our discussion moving forward. As you probably know, this particular move, we have two specific scenarios. The first one is focusing on financial resilience and economic stability. The second one is a more overwhelmed national security strategy. So we have already conducted such a division of labors among us. So following through Prime Minister's speech, we should start touching upon this particular question we prepare for the scenario one. And if I may, let me now invite Professor管中閔to give your point on this particular question we prepare for the move. And the next one, we will be also inviting Professor Wang follow through. Okay, Professor Wang, please take the floor.
Should I also take that?
Yes, if you like.
Thank you very much, Professor Liu. Good morning, distinguished guests. It's an honor to be here to express some of my opinions regarding the possible situation in Taiwan. I will follow Prime Minister Chen's overview and start talking more about the potential strategy that we may take on the economic side. To prepare for those potential Chinese military threats or actions, I think Taiwan must adopt a strategic resilience approach to ensure stability across economic, social, financial, and the industrial sectors, and also to maintain critical operations under extreme circumstances. So what I will be saying below, more focusing on what we may want to do in the medium run, like 2 or 3 years ahead. To summarize in the beginning, I will focus on something, because I think Taiwan should focus on enhancing international cooperation, strategic deterrence, industrial self-sufficiency, and the self-sufficiency of people's livelihood. Then I will leave those defense or other parts to other speakers. So I will focus more on the economics and the industry side. On the economics front, I think that it is very, very important, and it has also been discussed recently, that we need to expand our energy, including oil, natural gas, coal reserves, to sustain at least 3 to 6 months of consumption. The numbers I collected is like a current oil reserve. This oil is for 90 days, coal for 30 days, and natural gas is only 8 days. Especially natural gas, I think it is far below the safety requirement, because now our electricity relies almost like 50% on natural gas. So the 8 days reserve definitely is not enough for any emergency. And we also need to expand our strategic grain stockpile to secure a stable food supply, also at least 3 to 6 months of consumption. The number I have also shows that our food self-sufficiency is only about like 70%. But I think this number does not really count for what we will have during the wartime or some emergency. Currently, our reserve, like rice, is about 7 months, and the wheat is about 2.5 months. This seems to be enough, but just taking into account that during some extreme conditions, lots of things will be destroyed, and this will not be the exact amount that we will have under those circumstances. So therefore, expanding such stockpiles will also be important. We also need to build up reserve of essential materials, including but not limited to pharmaceuticals, chemical compounds, and the industry such as semiconductor and other electronics supplies, so as to maintain our stability in key industries. This is also want to maintain our society to have the usual operations. We must also set up, I think the one that I'm mentioning now is also important, but rarely discussed. I think we must also set up an emergency distributive system for daily necessities of living. Because we all in Taiwan, most of you been in Taiwan for a while, that you know, living in Taiwan is really convenient. You can get anything you want, just walk just 1 block or just right next door. You can get anything. But just imagine some of the example happened before. Just a serious typhoon lasts for 2 or 3 days. It already caused shortages of water, of instant noodles, or even bathroom tissues. So just imagine that even more emergent conditions occurred. Lots of things the distributive system will be broken down. And so therefore, such an emergency distributive system, even in case of food rationing, at least people need to know where and how to obtain such necessities. I think this is crucial. On the industry side, this has been mentioning all the time, has been discussed. I believe Chairman Paul Wang will say a lot more on this. We all know that Taiwan has been depending on mainland China economically for a very long time. Therefore, in the near future, Taiwan should try to start reducing the economic dependence on China. Currently, it's about 30% of our total export is to mainland China. 20% of total imports is from mainland China. And our industry production is very closely entangled with mainland China's industrial production. If you calculate those correlations could be as high as like 85.85 or even 0.9. And therefore, in fact, our production largely depends on the mainland China's industry. And this situation has to be changed. Of course, we know after 20, 30 years close relations, it's really difficult to do this, but this is something we need to do. And more importantly, we also need to secure important raw materials and the industry supply from sources other than China. So now we rely on mainland China provide us lots of raw materials, intermediate goods. This situation has to be changed. And it is also important that we need to encourage investment in domestic productions. This is also another way to reduce the dependence on mainland China. It is by expanding domestic manufacturing and by expanding at manufacturing capabilities, we can maintain a stable production and ensuring that essential goods remain available in terms of crisis. Nowadays, because especially lots of goods for living, we largely imported from mainland China, making Taiwan actually lots of basic stuff that we don't produce anymore. So this is something that we should also pay attention to. Taiwan needs to also to start diversifying its supply chains to other regions, such as Southeast Asia and India. I don't want to mention the United States because I think we were forced to diversify there. You know what I'm saying, right? Of course, supply chain has been this way, has a long history. It will not be easy to do such a diversification. But to my knowledge, lots of businesses, they have already started doing that. And I also know such a diversification will cause other problems in Taiwan's economy. But this is also something unavoidable. This is something that we need to prepare for that. At the same time, I think the government should work closely with businesses to help relocate part of their manufacturing bases for mitigating the supply chain risk. We also need to have a plan that helps convert certain plants, certain manufacturing facilities to produce the necessities of living during the crisis when necessary. Because we do have a very strong manufacturing base, but such a base mainly produces some important industrial good. But during the wartime, when necessities of living are in scarce, then we need to do something so that we can convert some of the plant, so that we can still get those necessities of living. Even though I believe Professor Wang will talk a lot more about those, what we should prepare for the financial side, I would like to mention one thing, because this is something I'm also trying to do. I think it is important that we have certain financial monitoring indicators. Such indicators should be used to constantly watch large-scale capital outflows, Taiwan dollar depreciation, and the stock market volatility. Because we all know that during emergencies, something will happen, then the quickest response is coming from the financial market. And therefore, we will see immediately capital flight, and we'll see large currency depreciation, and the stock market may even have to be closed. Then, of course, still during the present peacetime, we should set up the financial monitoring indicators. Or even more generally, I think we also need to have an uncertainty index that watch closely, that watch the situation cross straight. Such a policy index, uncertainty index, can be built based on the information from those news announcement, government statement, and all kinds of news coverage. Those information can be collected, and it should have been collected, and using those text mining technique to convert and to build up such an index. So far, we can build some of the information based on Taiwan information, but we still need some effort to get the information from the mainland side, because some of the information we cannot obtain. If in Taiwan some sources can help us to get such information, we will be able to build such policy uncertainty index so that we can read from lines and transform to quantitative numbers, so that give us like a signal to know how tense or how easy the cross-strait relation could be. So I will skip some of the financial part of discussion. But overall, the measure discussed above aims at strengthening Taiwan's resilience during crisis, even though some of them may have already been known. But for now, I think that Taiwan seems very vulnerable because due to those lack of preparations. And therefore, a wartime response plan that allows key economic activities to continue, even in the event of blockade or attack is badly needed. And before I conclude, I would like to make two final remarks. The first thing is that what has always been in my mind, even though we are doing those tabletop exercise, I would say we are talking about how should we prepare for the emergency conditions. But I would like to say the best preparation is to prevent a war or direct conflict from happening. I believe politicians must take this as their paramount responsibility. Second, even though I've been mentioning about those plans, I believe our government already have such contingency plans. But I also think it is important to keep our people informed. I'm not sure about the others, but as one of the general public, I have to say I know nothing about the contingency plan. I don't know what the government had in mind, what they are trying to do. Even for those reserves I just mentioned, I don't know whether they have done such preparations or not. It is important to keep people informed, because if we know more, then the better we can prepare for the difficult situations to come. And Prime Minister Chen, he has just left, he mentioned about 孙子兵法. And I also like to use this to conclude this part, is that the reason why we need to know more and prepare more is like 孙子兵法中一上说多算胜少算不胜况于无算乎. And finally, I would like to thank Admiral Chen for pushing this tabletop exercise for years. I think he's the first one to bring general public to realize how important this is. Before he started doing that, I did not even realize we are so vulnerable. I have no idea what our society, our government have done, and I have no clue what we need to be prepared. I actually bought a book, it's called 战时平民生存手册, just in case anything happened. But thank Admiral Chen for making this possible so that they can bring lots of people's attention to this important issue for Taiwan. Thank you very much.
First, I want to say morning again. I apologize for being late because in LY legislature this morning we have Defense Committee of the Foreign Affairs and the Defense area for election, so delayed. But I try to catch up. First, I want to thank Dr. Guan Zhongming mentioned this is a broadband consideration about the resiliency of a society. Before that, we still. I've been asking by other people friendly, when you run this tabletop exercise, which side's a win? Who's a loser? What kind of gadget mode you can afford? I think, well, we're not trying to calculate how much money you can afford to bear war by using the concept of strategical warfare. Yes, for sure we can defeat the enemy during the evasion activity for several battles, but no one in this region can afford war. So maintain peace, everybody's a winner. If war happens, everybody's a loser. So this morning, I'm very happy to have so many important famous scholars, expertise, former government senior leaders provide their broadband, objective observation regarding to the regional security. How to enhance the resiliency of Taiwan is more important. We should consider to enhance the defense deterrence capability, but should be synchronized with the capacity how to protect social life. Now I'm glad to hear to invite Dr. Wang to make her idea and presentation. Please.
Thank you so much for have chance to share some view. I think follow up Dr. Kwong, I will focus on what would be impact and then my suggestion for during this kind of simulation scenario what we can do. And it's focusing on financial industry because I used to be in chairman of FSC, and I believe it's a very difficult time for us now, and this year is very important. So I prepare some of the outline to share with you because of the time limitation. I like to share very structuralized on what I suggest, so you can clearly understand what my view. 对。把它打开就可以。好。I'm sorry, that's.它通常就是你把它展开，它就可以动。对对对，它就可以用。那我有带 PPT 档。是。Please. Okay, sorry about that. Okay. First of all, I think for Professor Liu give me some of the scenario question, and then we will focus on when we're facing this kind of disturbance and cyber attack, what will impact to financial market, and then we can see there's could be cause great panic and instability for financial market, and then lead to large-scale capital outflow or depreciation of Taiwan's dollar and investor uncertainty. And also we may face on some of the system can be breakdown, like energy grid, internet, communication, and public infrastructure will all cause financial market in immediate disturbance. And cyber-infected warfare will also may cause some of the disturb too. And I think we need to, first of all, we need to set up a very important task force to integrate the executive and central bank and the FSC. And also we need to prepare 2 layers of the response protocol, like immediate in 1 or 2 days, what should be response, and also for 2 and 3 weeks, what will be the middle term interaction. And also we need to prepare some strategic engagement for international alliance. I think this will be most important thing for now. And for, sorry about that. Oh, sorry. And for first of all, I think central bank need to intervene to stabilize New Taiwan dollars fluctuation. And for FSC, all the financial institutions need to support the financial liquidation to make sure there's sufficient liquidity for the financial market. And We also need to prepare stock market stability. We need to use the National Stability Fund, may also adjust the margin financial mechanism to countervail market fluctuation. We may also encourage the corporate stock buyback to stabilize the market. And for very short term, we may face immediate some of the interest. So we need to have prepare the bank run and the liquid buffer. So central bank need to readjust their reserve to see there's insufficient cash availability, and we might use the digital, infrastructures. In here, Taiwan have developed many digital kinds of financial tools. So use the digital banking infrastructure to encourage not to use cash would be important at this moment. In addition to that, we may also need to establish some emergency restore limit and also to restrict the short selling and speculative investing. And for the foreign exchange stability, the central bank need to stabilize, make sure the Taiwan dollars will be very stable. And we might also need to implement temporary limitations on the exchange rate outflow. And I prepare some of the digital solution for using fintech. For emerging payment and clearing mechanism in this kind of period may cause we cannot use the financial market services. So we need to establish backup system for digital payment. In now, Taiwan have many forms of digital payment, and also we need to use the interbank settlement by using maybe mobile wallet or some kinds of different kinds of value stock cards. And we may also prepare some to operate by the, when we face the satellite-based communication was disturbed, we may need to use financial digital infrastructure as well. So digital contingency payment system are very important during this kind of time period. This will be, we didn't talk about that before, and I think it's important to use digital tool to face out this situation. And for medium term, it's 2 and 3 weeks. I think it's more importantly to stabilize the economic, and some of the corporate also need to have a continuous run out. So central bank intervention on the liquidation is still important, and we also need to have a government back some of the emergency credit line to the key industry corporation. And we need to reduce loan payment for those who are affected corporation. And another one, I use digital solution to think we might use potentially digital payment and critical backup. This is, we never think about that before. We need to promote or prepare at least digital payment adoption to reduce cash dependence and may use stablecoin or alternative digital asset. Still not under the FSC policy, we are trying to develop that. And the central bank also are going to maybe issue the CBDC in the future. So under this kind of situation, we need to have some sort of that under the disturb, how can we use digital infrastructures? And for another one is still go back to foreign exchange and financial management. We need to think about not only depend on USA or China, we need to have more alliance from different countries. So to explore the cross-border transaction or to use alternative financial network are very important. And also we can use the digital solution on alternative settlement network, including critical digital asset for emergency backup. This is, now we might have the ability to think about how to prepare for this. And we need to more alliance from Japan or Europe or maybe Pacific nations, Pacific areas, countries. So some financial support are leveraged from IMF or World Bank are also important for temporary support. And for the long run, for strengthening cybersecurity and disinformation response, I think government should have a more large scale on the policy or on some of the strategy. So first of all, like the fact-checking mechanism to actually, we need to respond very quickly and to let everybody know what would be the fact information or to rebuild the confidence. So we need a real-time monitoring system. And during now, I don't think we have that kind of infrastructure or facility to do that. But we can use some of the facility or information or some of the tool from financial market. They have spent lots of money to build digital and cyber, I think, attack kinds of risk management important systems. So I was talking about how can we leverage in the financial institution as well. But still, the real-time monitoring need to integrate information for government and the institution, financial institution. We may also need some international cooperation to build up the support platform, and then we need to share information internationally to let everybody have the faith or to support Taiwan. And for financial institution, there's a lot of insurance company and bank. They actually, for risk management purpose, they actually now to have some of the investment and some of the drill and also some of the infrastructure spending for the cybersecurity and disinformation response. Then we might need to think about how to include these kinds of affair or sometimes because of military or war, this scenario under their consideration. So we might need to include higher cybersecurity standard, and also we need to implement by using AI or blockchain. This will be enhanced very much, and also we have digital sharing information more quickly to take the response, more precisely to take response. And we also need to encourage them to implement fake news monitoring tool or to have some of the detection real-time threat for simulation. Encourage all the financial institutions to do that is now very important as well. And finally, I think fact is most important thing for us to stay win. So I think we need to enhance domestic and global investment confidence. Under Taiwan, we have to explore the public-private partnership for this to encourage by the business leader and media to know we are together and we are trying to fight. So how to use these kinds of information or integrate everybody together to still hold on our economic is important. We might also engage global investor and some of the public affairs campaign. For this, global support are also important. So I think for the confidence itself, we need to do it very quickly, and then hopefully we can get through the difficulty together. So that's all my sharing. Hopefully it will be a little bit contribution for the drill. Thank you. Sorry.
Thank you very much, Professor Wang. My colleagues back in National CHANG University. She was our former minister of Financial Supervisory Commission. So I am so glad that from her remarks actually connected with three key words we have been doing for this tabletop exercise. Accountability, affordability, as well as adaptabilities. So next, let me now invite our moderator today, Admiral Chen, to give his remarks on national security strategy.
Well, thank you. Thank you for offering me this opportunity to share my humble opinion and my experiences focused on the national security strategy. When we're talking about the national security strategy, we have to define what is our center of gravity. In this tabletop exercise, we cover the 6 different moves, and every element is connected to each other. It's not individual, which is interconnected. So we cannot, based on, the war fighting, you are asking how much longer our armed forces can defend of Taiwan without asking how much longer your power grid can provide your power supply, your information still available, your submarine cable is okay, your energy support still can import. So it's a very complicated structure. So national security structure is not only top-down policy guidance, but also have horizontally interagency coordination to share the burden. Then, based on this framework, very, the hard structure. So every element inside the structure understand what's the liability, what is the burden I have to share, I have to bear, I have to contribute. So from a national security strategy consideration, first define center of gravity. Secondly, is a course of action. How many plans? Plan A, plan B, plan C, under affordable cost. Normally, the best, the choice, sometimes the cost is too high to bear. So we have to in process, to handle the plan B, plan C, then find the course of action, code of conduct, to support your national interest. So national security strategy is try to protect your vital virtual, vital interests, protect your democracy system, protect your constitution, to secure the social life in good way. Then we consider, the crisis prevention instead of a crisis management. If with the war game or tabletop exercise only focus on the two sides fire exchange, how many missiles the other fired, how many missiles we can intercept, how many ships we can sink. This is only for simulation, for game model. It's not try to diffuse crisis, to find a solution that is under affordable cost, and also engagement with your neighboring countries, sharing the information to make sure the sustainability of this social can maintain peace. The people still can live in a good way, and with the good wish and good hope. It's not to try to figure out a nightmare scenario, what kind of casualty mode we can sustain. So based on this interpretation or concept, a lot of things associated with the international law. Because when we engage any kind of a conflict, should be facing the rules of engagement, rule of the law of the armed conflict, the law of the war. So I'd like to invite experts, our doctor, to his lawyer. Yes, Professor Gao, I'd like to hear your comments regarding to this issue. Good morning. All distinguished panelists and learned friends from all over the world and distinguished guests and friends from medias. It's a great pleasure to represent 21st Century Foundation to welcome you to Taiwan in this extraordinary moment. Our foundation honorably sponsors this year's TTX and serve as your local host. We are here eager to learn from your expertise and also share with you about Taiwan's strategic resilience, especially in light of a series of recent events exposing some comments already say a sea change in international relations. And I will organize my discussion to 4 parts. Let me show you. Oh, okay, 谢谢. 谢谢. Okay, as you know that as the panelists, we have internal division of labor to try to utilize everyone's expertise to approach the strategic resilience issues. So it's certainly that for my part and for my own expertise, I would like to first start with a missing part in the discussion of the infrastructure resilience. That missing part, I will say, it's the legal infrastructure. As a former minister in charge of the legal affairs, it's about functionally equivalent to chief counsel in the United States. And as a legal scholar, I would like to focus my brief discussion on one usually missed critical infrastructure, that is the legal infrastructure for tackling emergency of national security nature. The legality issues will bring us to 3 very important problems if unresolved, and that is my point 2 to 4. The legality issues has direct bearing on one of this year's main themes, that is accountability. In encountering this kind of emergency, governments in general need to shore up their guard of key infrastructures and systems that keep essential social functions working. But at the same time, government may also need to limit and restrain social normals to for short or even indefinite period of time. Some of these government actions involve only upgrading interagency teamwork within an existing framework, as Admiral Chen usually mentioned. But some other governmental actions involve the concentration of powers beyond normal legal or even constitutional boundaries. A democratic turned wartime government is the typical, which will go through this legal test head on. A failure to meet this test will lead to one of the 3 following problems, which will surely cost government capability to cope with national security crisis. Unfortunately or not, there are vivid examples not far from us in Taiwan to show what are these problems about. So this leads me to my second point. I will call it the problem of legitimacy, or who should we deal with. The great POTUS, that means President of the United States,
The great President Trump recently stamped on Ukrainian President Zelensky. He used two words, actually it's very extraordinary or untypical. He said that President Zelensky is unelected, and the other quote from his low approval rate. Before he used these words to just maybe express something before the showdown last Friday. And all this point to the very problem of legitimacy. That is, in a sense, what President Trump questions. Are you the one in charge and I can deal with? This is the problem of the legitimacy question. A leader whose country is modeling through national crisis and try very hard to mobilize the societal support, encounter such question is really embarrassing and damaging. Especially such question is from strong allies who contribute money and military equipment. And fortunately, President Zelensky seems to have the whole Ukrainian society back him up. And so we think he is surely the legitimate one that President Trump should deal with. And in contrast, now we back to Taiwan. Taiwan's constitution doesn't provide the mechanism, as many of us in this room know, doesn't provide the mechanism of second round voting to ensure a majority president. 2 out of 5 elected presidents in the past win about 40% vote, and including the current president. Furthermore, many people in this room also are aware that Taiwan's political parties, the political landscape is built around only one simple issues and only one important issues. That is the cross-strait relations or the China issues. This is the central issues, divided the political parties. So therefore, the Taiwan's president will be in a weaker position, usually, if he or she in the future facing with a Zelensky-like decision. Because he certainly will not have a full Taiwan society to back him up. Due to he only got under 45% of votings in our current election systems. So this is the first point why I mentioned it's the problem of legitimacy. That we have a very deep structure problem in our constitutional system. And this led me to my third point. That means the problem of legality and a historical bias toward national security law. When security crisis hit, Taiwan's president, let's imagine, may need to declare state of emergency in local or even national levels to assume additional authority for the government. But in the most serious scenario, he even need to go all the way down to the declaration of martial law. Just a few months ago, President of South Korea, in Chinese, in 11月, Yoon Si-yeol, I think most people in this room know who he is, declared state emergency and martial law. The consequence, he failed to seize the Congress, and the Congress revoked the declaration in 6 hours. with the presence of massive protest against him. And in the aftermath, he not only get impeached, but indicted with charge of insurrection. A high crime, if convicted, will not only supersede presidential privilege, but will potentially put him in jail for the rest of his life. Now we back to Taiwan. For example, if for some reason Taiwan's president declared state of emergency and block the internet days before election, citing the detection of the large-scale threat of deepfake misinformation. And anyone who tries to disseminate information online will be charged with undermining democratic process. And what will this be like? Taiwan and South Korea have one historical sentiment in common. That is a strong and sometimes biased distrust to national security apparatus. The reason for this is the long history of imposition of martial law under the justification of anti-communism from 50s to 70s, which is perceived by many common people as an excuse for the abuse of human rights in many cases. Therefore, short of real war, in most cases of widespread gray zone tactics that we already discussed in these past 2 days, government will suffer severe society backlash if it wants to take dramatic countermeasures, even in situation justified. After all, this is an era that trust in government is in scarcity. And this leads me to my final point. I will put it as the problem of lack of practice of government in emergency. This is the last problem, I think, arising from the inadequate legal infrastructure of national security. I have a personal experience of this I want to share. When I served as a minister for legal affairs in the cabinet under President Ma, I was assigned to be one of the several inspectors in 汉光政军兵推, or we call it joint exercise of government and the military in 2009 and 2010. One of the exercise items is to demand relevant government agency for essential government service to retreat and work inside a bunker-like government headquarters. Pretty cool, I thought back at that time. And one of my jobs is to classify and make sure that relevant agencies and necessary personnel are there with their equipment and their papers for work. And all this need to be very precise, no more or no less, due to limited spaces and supplies under control in the exercise. And I was quite sure that every so-called relevant agency or personnel got notified in advance. But in the first roll call before the formal exercise, I was told that one of our agency, I think most of Taiwanese in this room also know this, is a very famous agency. NCC commissioners were not there, and nobody showed up. And I'm panicked, certainly. And NCC is an independent agency modeled after American FCC and was relatively new at that time. though classified as independent, it is in charge of a very important function, the allocation of spectrum, which is critical either in war or in peace. So why not show up? The answer is they think they are independent agency and not one of the executive branch. So they don't show up. And with almost on age, I called the high rankings and asked them to show up before it's too late. And my take from this experience is no practice, no fix. Because the closest thing we experience similar to war here in Taiwan, maybe typhoon, earthquake, and COVID. So we need to practice. And a few words for conclusion. Without the legal structure, the government in security crisis may end up as illegitimate, illegal, or incapable. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor Gao. Let's now move to the next speaker, our dear friend, currently Taiwanese, Mr. Bill Stanton. Please.
I haven't exactly prepared for this, but let me start by thanking Admiral Chen, Professor Liu for having invited me, and opportunity to meet so many distinguished participants in this tabletop exercise. Let me start by just saying, since we're talking about all the things Taiwan needs to do that doesn't have, I would just start by saying Taiwan needs to recognize what a great success it is as a country. It's not only that it's a democracy and has freedom and a free press, but it's also that the people of Taiwan, they're kind, they're polite, they're gentle. There's no violence that's apparent, as you would see, as I did, a kid growing up in Jersey City and in New York City. It's a safe place, and it's because there's a very low crime rate. It's also a very prosperous society with free health care. The United States, for all of its wealth, still doesn't have a universal health care system. It has a system for the very poor and the very old. But for ordinary people, the kind of health you have depends on where you live and how much money you have. So, you know, there's a model in Taiwan that the US should take a look at. So I've been in Taiwan now for 16 years, and so I feel pretty invested in the continuing success of Taiwan. I want Taiwan to succeed. And one thing I agree with, particularly with Admiral Chen, emphasis, we don't want war. Even Donald Trump, his big message is no more war. And he's right about that. And having grown up in the age of Vietnam and Iraq and Afghanistan, I sure didn't want war. I mean, I was constantly afraid I was going to get drafted to Vietnam. And because we live in America in a system where some people are more advantaged than others, some people develop bone spurs, and so they don't have to go into the military. In my case, I was lucky. There was so much controversy about the sons of wealthy people avoiding the draft that they instituted a lottery. And the one virtue of growing up in Jersey City is the population was large enough when they put all the dates of the year into a a pile and then drew them out one by one and assigned, you're number one, you're number two, I was like 235 out of 365 days. And that was because I lived in a very populated area. So even that was, in a sense, certainly unfair. Because if you lived in an area with smaller populations, it was almost certain you might get drafted. So I agree with all the excellent suggestions today. A couple of things I already talked to the media here and mentioned that I do think I was very happy when Tsai Ing-wen, former president, extended conscription. Because Taiwan has a small population, but it faces a big threat. Not to fight, but at least to prepare. And so I agree that conscription might even be extended now to 2 years as a solution. To also get the young people of Taiwan, who are very smart, more engaged in supporting Taiwan. But again, I was lucky not to have to go to the military from my perspective. And I honor all those of my colleagues, some of them sitting here today, who went and joined the military and served the United States. I think I tried to make up for it when I was in the Foreign Service volunteering to go to Beirut and then to go to Islamabad, which were not exactly charming places and were somewhat dangerous, certainly particularly Beirut at the time. But if Taiwan is going to defend itself, one thing that hasn't been mentioned in areas to develop is population decline. And that's a major problem throughout East Asia, but also now in the United States. Population is leading, there's just not enough babies being produced. And that's something that I think would help Taiwan to grow stronger and more vibrant. If your population decreases too much, you're not going to have the necessary human resources. And so what I think Taiwan needs to do is expand the number of well-educated, smart people that it already has. I taught at 4 different national universities in Taiwan, and I was always impressed, not only by the quality of the universities, by the quality of the professors, but also by the intelligence of the students. The only thing I always felt was the students were not challenging me enough because they were so polite, which is consistent with Taiwanese society, but it's not always the best way to learn. Sometimes you have to ask teachers difficult questions that maybe they can't even answer. So the other things that people have talked about, I agree on, if possible, reducing dependency on China. One of the initiatives I heard about from Sasha, is Sasha here? Yeah. Sasha has invited me next week. They're at INDSR. There's apparently an initiative to try to find ways to project the positive image of Taiwan that it deserves throughout the world and change some of the language that's used to describe Taiwan. If you change words, often you can change thoughts. And I find that a very intriguing initiative, and I was glad to be welcome to attend next week. Well, I think I've said everything I need to say. Again, I'm very grateful to Taiwan. I'm grateful for the opportunity to be here today and to take part in this very important tabletop exercise. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I always amazed bears a very positive point to Taiwan, which I always think this is a great encouragement to me and my colleagues, as always. So things according to the original design, then I would have to also give my remarks on the situation. We are so delighted to have such an occasion coming together to think what would be the situation Taiwan is going to face. And basically, combining all the questions we prepare, basically the question is how exactly Taiwan can come up with a comprehensive strategy facing up to Donald Trump's 2.0. And since he is in power just less than 2 months, already so much things pushing, impacting friends and allies in the region. So definitely Taiwan in such a difficult situation would have to come up with comprehensive strategy. So in the next few more minutes, I would like to share from 5 specific dimensions to think, and probably I have seen some of very dear friends from the academic community as well as our business community presenting today, which I consider a great stimulating point. So I would say something probably following through those points made by our distinguished colleagues today, trying to break through some of the difficult barrier. And even if we cannot immediately offer positive and good strategy, at least it can really stimulate us, not just among audience today, but also trying to stimulate decision makers in this country. The first point is a political dimension. When we time and time again thinking whether the war is coming in Taiwan, but everyone knows as long as the political situation shifts, all policy change, which means I think looking from tabletop exercise point of view, this is exactly the way, if we can find political way to diffuse. The key word is to diffuse the tension. Everyone in Taiwan knows if a policy is on the right track, we can easily diffuse the tension in the Taiwan Strait. So this would be something I would focus very much on. And in order to diffuse the tension, perhaps, of course, it can really refer to many things thereafter. The second point I want to also focus more is a social dimension. Throughout all the talk from Prime Minister Chen, dear colleagues, Professor Guan and also Professor Wang, touch upon economic and financial resilience and also the potential threat we are having now. So looking from social dimension, and really one of the focus in this tabletop exercise is to strengthen our societal resilience, because follows through these 3 key words. One is a specific word, accountabilities. So much things, Taiwan is not ready. We are open. We are like Bill just described, people working extremely hard. Society is wide open, well receive all those visitors. But I think if we are talking about whether Taiwan is well prepared for the worst to come, and all the answer is not ready, not yet. So the society, if our society is not on that level yet, and we should have a much more flexible, smart strategy vis-a-vis our potential adversary. We should not really quickly identify a potential enemy. Who is our potential enemy? We just put it as a potential adversary. And in order to enhance our societal resilience, so much things to do for the government and also for the overall society. Every one of us would have to be in such a situation, well aware of our difficult situation. But I think somehow many foreigners come to Taiwan may have such a very awkward situation. On the one side, on the government level, keep telling foreigners and visitors the war is not far away. But if you dig down to the society, the grassroots, you will not really fear anything among general people. So that is a huge gap there. And it also shows that our society is completely not ready yet. As early on, talking about 1 year conscription, but back in the time we served in the national, in the military, we served at least 2 years. So looking back, such a things, 1 year conscription, on the pure military sense, it is not quite ready. It cannot really prepare for the wars to come, and unless you have 2 years training for military. The third point I want to quickly touch upon is an international dimension. Everyone knows Taiwan does not have that many diplomatic friends. Currently, we maintain 12 diplomatic allies, but not enough. So talking about all possibilities stretch into international organization or all kind of international regional mechanism. Taiwan is not a full member. We cannot even be invited into such a forum mechanism to speak our problem, our difficulties. So there is no any possibilities. But what if when Taiwan face up to such a difficult situation, the crisis, where we will be able to find? So traditionally, we are 100% relied on our single allies, which is the United States. So when our decision makers, our military, our experts come together, discuss such a difficulty, every time pushing into the extreme, there is only one answer: ask the United States. But since Donald Trump, you have already seen how he react to President Zelensky. So to me, at least for now, if you don't present a valuable deal in front of President Donald Trump, any country in front of United States will become something not so interested, not so valuable to the United States. So that is something critical. National interest would have to be put on the basis of exchange as a deal. So internationally, we will have to review whether traditionally simply counting on one friend, allies. I'm not quite sure in time of a crisis whether the single friend would matter a lot or will rescue Taiwan from the difficulties. So this is an international dimension. The fourth one, commercial dimension, because looking into potential crisis, energy and food potential crisis, we would be able to be cut off. So in this sense, what else Taiwan can solve too? So finally, I will be quickly touching upon the cross-strait dimension. And I believe many people in Taiwan understand and realize the government would have to open up a dialogue with China in whatever sense, because this may be something that kept for so long and so difficult. And if we would not make ourselves more flexible, definitely the crisis surrounding Taiwan now, every day with Chinese aircraft and ships coming around, would further intensify such pressures to us. So that is the only possible and smart way which Taiwan should really face up to such a challenge. So I will wrap up by mentioning a few key points. Currently, as we see, China already utilized its massive power, going through the pressures, legalizing the One China principle globally. So with this challenge further, if the current policy continue, we will definitely suffocate further. And it comes to Admiral Chen's point, suffocating strategy by China. So that would be something we will have to really consider. How to deal with in the short term, how to deal with One China principle threat much further. Everyone knows there would be formula, but if the policy now will not change, this is what we are going to get. So in this sense, when China conduct all kind of strategy surrounding Taiwan, we will not have any good formula to counter with. In the medium, mid and long term, we would have to really open up this important contact and dialogue, following through the current society communication exchange with China. So this would be something useful for all of us to bear in mind. So I will end here. Thank you so much for your attention. Thank you so much. Let me now quickly move to the final and very fundamental and critical remarks by Professor Wang Boyuan, Paul Wang.
Okay, my name is Paul Wang. I'm very happy to be here, especially invited by all the sponsors. 特别是 General Chen. Every time I see him, I have to salute because I was used to be the second lieutenant. I have to salute the general. Actually, I'm a technologist. I'm the businessman. Okay. Since I graduated, got my PhD in 1969, I have been in the business for almost more than 55 years. So my talk today is mainly focused on the technology, on the business, okay? And everybody know the February 17, the Economic Magazine published an article, Today Ukraine, Tomorrow Taiwan. Since then, on February 26, both me and the New York Times simultaneously published a similar article, Taiwan don't want to be a second Ukraine. Additionally, 2 years ago, on April 13, 2023, I wrote a similar article, state Taiwan don't want to be second Ukraine. For those who are interested, you can read this article, okay? I really don't want to spend too much time talk about the Ukraine war. Every time I saw television, saw Ukraine, I was so sad. The whole country is in a ruin, is imperished, okay? Ukraine lose people, okay? Used to be 42 million people. Now my understanding only less than 30 million people. A lot of people flew into other countries. Total people die, military and civilian, close to 1 million people. Also, you have to get rid of territory to Russia. And US asked him to pay the money, also want to gain all the underground minerals. So that's a disaster. Especially 2 weeks ago, there's a Munich Security Conference. J.D. Vance's speech, it upset all the European leaders. Okay, question whether U.S. can be trusted. So this could be a very good experience for Taiwan. We should be very monitor the effort in Ukraine. Taiwan really don't want to be second Ukraine. Now I'm a technologist, a businessman. I want to change a different subject. It's about 9 years ago, our National Taiwan Industry Association, is Chinese means 工业总会, published an article saying Taiwan has there are 5 most important factors which missing. This will hinder Taiwan's technology development. Which means 五缺, there's a 5 shortage, means shortage water, shortage electricity, shortage land, shortage working people, and also shorting talent engineers. Those 五缺. But since then, I have been reading about 6-7 peoples. I'm saying, in addition to the 五缺, there will be one more important 6 缺, which is the lack of a peaceful relationship with China. Okay. Even all the 五缺 5 shortage resolved, the last 6 shortages not resolved, we still have a problem. And then during the last 2 years, the tension cross-street become very severe. A lot of 军演, a lot of military exercise. The China's airplane, the military ships across the red line. Especially there's an article, probably you remember. 2021 April, same magazine, Economist, put Taiwan on the front page. Taiwan, he said, Taiwan is the most dangerous place in the world. Therefore, we started building military, buying a lot of military equipment. As you know, we spend $200 million annually, military equipment, okay, buy US equipment. As today, there's still close to $160 million equipment. We pay the money, still hasn't received the hardware. Okay, a lot of people saying if a PRC invade Taiwan, US is going to send troops. Of course, when the previous Biden has been talking 5 times, he will send troops helping Taiwan. But on February 26th, Trump's second official cabinet meetings said, the news reporter asked him whether you're going to send troops if PRC invade Taiwan. He did not answer the question. Only question he answered, Xi Jinping is a good friend of mine. Okay. Also, there's a famous magazine, Foreign Relationship, is published, and it is a March-April series saying that the US should not engage a war, cannot win. Probably everybody can read the article, okay. Also, in the military spending, we spent $200 million. Do you know how much military expense PRC expend? Is $2,300 million US. It's about 11 times of Taiwan's money. So PRC's military soldiers' equipment, in terms of quantity, are superior to us. So therefore, we should be careful whether we want to engage the war. Now my question is the following. Doesn't matter whether the US is going to help us or not. A win or loss is independent. But the battleground is in Taiwan. Then all the infrastructure we made in the last 60 years will be perished. So we should think twice. Okay, now I want to change a different subject, mainly on the technology. Okay, because I'm a businessman, I'm interested in technology development. First of all, I want to take a few minutes, talk about what China has been done in the last 10 years. Everybody knows China has a 2015 plan for the 10-year plan till 2025. Last year, they reviewed their accomplishment. It seems to me almost 90% of the goal they accomplished. Only semiconductor is still behind the plan. But in addition to the target, there are so many new things developed, like such as the drawdown, military robotics, also the recent one, DeepSync. Those are the new additional one, okay? And there's a paper published by the Secretary of State, Michael Rubio, which he published this report in September last year when he was a senator in Florida. Here I have a copy of this report. Okay, the world China made. If anybody interested, you can go to his website to look at that report. He's saying that China made a lot of progress in the last 10 years. If US don't want to develop, then we'll be way behind. Because this is the main report, he says. 43 pages. If any people want interested, you can go to the website. In addition to this report, Australia, there is a government-sponsored organization called the APSI, called Australia Strategic Policy Institute. This institute established 2003. They divide the worldwide technology into 64 sections. Okay, they review each country's technology development every 5 years. So first 5 years, from 2003 to 2007, among the 64 technology sectors, US are leading 57 of them. China is leading 7. But the recent one they published in September last year, the 64 technology sector, China leading 57. US only leading 7. Among the 7 sectors, first is the vaccination. Second was the medical treatment. The last one is artificial intelligence. But with the announcement of the DeepSync, I don't know whether they are still leading or not. I don't know. Okay, so this is the tech, and in the next one is the semiconductors. Okay, everybody's talking about semiconductors. For instance, the previous Secretary of Commerce still admit the sanction on China that's not working. Okay, and there's one of milestone dates is August 26, 2023, when Huawei announced the Mate 16 Pro cell phones. They claim it has 7-nanometer technology. Everybody puzzled. They don't believe Huawei will have the 7-micron technology, 7-nanometer technology. But one of the Japanese firms, they do the evaluation. They prove they do have the 7-nanometer technology, 7-nanometer technology. Last year, September, they announced the Mate 70 Pro cell phones. It claimed they have a 5-nanometer technologies. Now, semiconductor, if you look into the semiconductor application, it is just a purement. Okay. Only less than 10% are those related to very high-end, like 5 nanometers, 3 nanometer, mainly used for cell phone and the GPU application. Majority piece, which is the middle piece, are the 14 nanometer, 24 nanometer section, are used for commercial application, electrical vehicle, and so on and so forth. Last year alone, China produced 26% of the worldwide mid to low range semiconductor chip. Next year, the 26% will be increased to 37%. A lot of people predict by 2030, they're going to have a 50%. Okay. This is a very important alarm. Okay. Also, in the meantime, I just heard Huawei recently they successfully produced the 6G's chipset. They use SMC's 5 nanometer technology. So this is an alarm to Taiwan. We should be looking into very carefully. Next one, everybody know, during the Chinese New Year, 2 weeks ago, the announcement of the DeepSeek. Okay, now DeepSeek is become pervasive usage in China. For instance, Huawei's WeChat, no, not Huawei, the Tencent's Huawei, they introduced DeepSeek into their WeChat systems. Everybody uses. So is the 3 large wireless communication company in Huawei. No. Also, I learned recently, Alibaba also developed called a QWin 2.5 AI machine. I was told it is better than DeepSeek. Probably if you look in the stock market in Hong Kong, Alibaba's stock market increased almost 70% during the last 7 weeks. Okay. Now, during the last 10 years, we look at what they have done. So many announcements from EV, from Jordan, from robotics, and so on and so forth. Then look what we have done, Taiwan have done. During the last years, we're very sad. We have not developed a single unicorn. Okay. The only we focus on TSMC. As you know, TSMC, it is not a Taiwanese company. It is a US company. 78% of the shareholder by US. Okay? So we should review ourselves. Okay? In order to have a competitive, productive, economic, and technology development, we need to have a very stable, healthy, peaceful environment, which means our 6th shortage. We need to have a very peaceful relation with the PRC. Second, we spend too much time, too much money on 备战 to preparing for the war. We spend too much money for the war purchasing. Okay, and we should save the money for our 5 shortage development, especially focus on the people development, because our high school students, as you might know, their STEM courses are very weak. How we can develop our students such that they have a much better skill, better talent for the high school, for the high technology applications. So I'm still proposing we should change 备战, preparing for the war, to 避战, avoiding the war, to save a lot of money for our 5 shortage development. In the meantime, okay, right now we are 亲美仇中, we are pro-US against China. I would suggest we should change to pro-US, make friendship to China. Okay, this is exactly what I said. Also, we should develop our people skill. My understanding is saying our people skill is not good enough, because short of STEM, we have to develop our people, make it competitive in the world arena. So in short, I only can summarize in 8 words, if I can speak in Chinese. 仇中, no, 避战改成从备战 改成避战 ，avoid war。No, preparing for war change to avoiding the war. 抗中 against China become more friendship to China. Okay. As you know, I wrote 2 Chinese articles, one on February 26th, almost at the same time as the New York Times this year. In the meantime, I wrote a similar article almost 2 years ago, April 23rd, 2023, on the same subject. We don't want to be the second Ukraine. It is a Chinese, because we have so many foreign American friends here. I would suggest maybe you can go to Deep Sea to get translation, like Mr. Wang Yi said. Thank you so much.
Thank you. What you have heard just now is very much from the grassroots of Taiwan. General people thinking something perhaps very different from the current policy. But according to the original arrangement, we will now open up the press conference, open up for all the observers in the room together. So we will open up for roughly 20-some minutes. Please, if you want to ask, identify yourself first, and then also one question at a time. Short question, we will get concise response. We want more questions from the floor coming through. So the floor is open, please. If you prepare, yes, just raise hand. Sasha, please.
Hi. Thank you to all those speakers for such wonderful points. I have a question that's been prompted by, I think, almost what everyone has talked about here today, as well as some of the discussion yesterday. A lot of this analysis and societal resilience has laid out, very clear problems that Taiwan needs to solve in terms of needs in the healthcare system, in responding to a contingency, in restoring telecommunications, and all these areas. That's very dependent on critical roles and people knowing what to do in a crisis situation, right? Showing up to the right meetings and being available and knowing who can do what. So the reason I'm concerned about this is yesterday when we were doing move 2 of the simulation, the first thing we did in the US team was organize for the evacuation of US citizens and green card holders and their dependents. And rough calculations, this is a lot more than the official numbers of how many US citizens there are in Taiwan, which is over 8,000, right? There would be tens, if not hundreds of thousands when you factor in, Taiwanese who have children who were born in the US, who may be dependents, who may have green cards. And these are, many people in this room and many of the most critical roles in the healthcare industry here, in the telecommunications and technology, and all the even in government, in very critical areas. And then if we don't just think about the United States, the Southeast Asian nations also will evacuate as soon as possible. And you go to any hospital here in Taiwan and you know that they're dependent on Southeast Asian migrant workers.
Please, quickly go to your question.
Yeah, so my question is basically that, right? Is there any assessment going on if the first order in a contingency is this foreign evacuation? Has there been any analysis on what are the dependencies on foreign, either foreign residents, dual nationals, and then what are measures should Taiwan put in place to make sure these systems don't collapse based on an evacuation?
Okay. In the panel, so who is going? Perhaps. Yeah, we want to help this one.
Overall, my concern is not only that a lot of people will flee, understandably, but it's also, while it's fair enough to say we should seek peace with China, we should be friends with China, the fact remains is China is a totalitarian state. And if it takes over Taiwan, independent businessmen You know, the best, I guess, will survive. But for the most part, they will take over everything. And the freedom that Taiwanese people currently enjoy will disappear. And I don't know how you reconcile this idea, because it's quite clear Xi Jinping, when he takes over, it's going to be Chinese way or the highway. And that's why people will get out. So I think somebody has to address that. We've been talking over and over again, and I agree, war at all costs should be avoided. But if Xi Jinping comes to power over Taiwan, the situation for Taiwan is going to be changed forever. It's going to be a radical change. And even the wealthy businessmen who have prospered under Taiwan and in association with China, that will all be over. So how is that dilemma resolved?
Yes. I guess the key point here is how to maintain reasonable peace in the Taiwan Strait. We need to engage. So that would be something critically important. And of course, in the normal time, get everyone well prepared. I know some of the country nearby have already started preparing for evacuation, potential evacuation. But that would be just for preparation. The basic point is that we should not let the situation happen in front of us. Okay, thank you. Let's now quickly move to the next one. Lika, please.
Good morning. First, let me thank the 6 wise men who have spoken to us today. I certainly will have a lot of things to take away. I'm PM Hebliker. I come from Bangalore, India. I represent the Center for National Security Studies. Only 2 points. Why is Taiwan so inward looking? There are problems. And sitting back in India, which we have a common problem with our northern neighbor, how do we go back and tell people what are Taiwan's actual problems and how do we address this? And this is what I would like our eminent speakers to throw some light on.
Any feedback? Sorry, can you repeat your question again? Sorry.
Sorry? Only 2 things. Why is Taiwan so inward looking? And why is it that the problems that Taiwan faces today is not known or publicized to the extent that most of your supporters or your friends in friendly countries would like to understand, or how better can it be articulated? This is what I would like an answer.
Especially for the Indian context, you know the connection. I think that's what Mr. Hebliker is asking, because we are going back from, after this, so you just like an answer, the perspective.
Okay, I thank you for asking this very profound question. I may not be able to, I think colleagues in this particular move may not be able to respond in such a way, but certainly because Taiwan is a democratic country, we have a different policy coming up, and the question, it seems to me, is more referring to different policy, especially the current government. Stick on certain policy and will not be able to elaborate to convince most of friends in the neighborhood. So probably this is a reason why friends of living in another country may not or have not really quite understood why and how Taiwan should approach that. But I would hope that there would be a way we can come with more clear narratives in terms of foreign policy to that. Yes, thank you. Maybe, hopefully, yes? Dmitro from Ukraine, introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Dmitro Borsov, postdoctoral research fellow at CCU. So I had a question, comments for actually 2 first speakers. It's Professor Wang and Professor Quan. So I'll start from Professor Wang. So you said a lot of like digital sustainability, about reliability of financial system, but you know, we rely on electronic devices too much. And all economy, everything based on, well, electricity, and as we talked yesterday, Taiwan might run out of electricity very fast in terms of serious conflict. Any preparation on government level in case electronic system just doesn't work, it fails, or it cyber attacks and just doesn't work, actually, as it was in a movie which came last, like The Zero Day. And question to Professor Kwan, you said about a lot of also important things like stockpiling food, providing food for population, providing all necessities for population. How does it work with civil society? Because, well, example of Ukraine showed that population should rely on themselves during at least first 72 hours. Any suggestions for a population like stockpiling food, stockpiling water, stockpiling everything at least for first 3, 4, 5 days from government? Because I think it's a very important point, and the point we shouldn't reach, but well, hopefully war wouldn't happen, but in case of war, any other recommendation from government to population for stockpiling food, water, and like daily necessities even you mentioned? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I think my point is that we are living on the technology world now, and we have built many fintech infrastructure. We might be influenced by some of the tool or some of the channel, because under the world of disturb of the market, there's cash need to or liquidation problem and exchange problem, trading problem. So the infrastructure on the fintech can be more diversified and quickly. So my point would be we would not only depend on one cash. We need to diversify. Another is that we can use AI and blockchain, these kinds of technology, to get more information and use AI model to actually tackle cyber risk, or we can have a more quickly response to without the disturb. So technology have their, I think, advantage. Then we are living on fintech world. We need to have a think about different way. That's my point. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. What I mentioned is actually two things. The first is that at the national level, we should build up those reserves for important materials, food, and energy. So those reserves are important. I believe our government already have a plan. The problem is that I don't know those plans. None of us, I believe most of people, general public has no idea exactly what's the plan and exactly the level of the reserve that we have. But I believe that some of them, like energy, like I mentioned specifically, like natural gas, that's currently our reserve is only like for 7 days. That's way below the usage, especially our electricity highly depends on the natural gas. And I believe that other materials, even like food, I mentioned about the food self-sufficiency is about 70%, but that's a general number. It doesn't mean that we do have a reserve that can sustain our like 1 month or even more during emergency. So at the national level, we do need to build up such a reserve. Even we don't have such a capacity, we need to expand such capacity so as to prepare for those contingency. At the individual level, I mentioned the book, the survival handbook. So actually I read, I even underlined, marked. For individual, that book actually suggests that we should actually individuals should prepare at least 1 week. So basic stuff, including bottled water, those instant noodles, that kind of things. no, you don't need the money. You rob everything by then. So that's one thing that to survive the, excuse me, because in case of emergency, usually the attack will be overwhelming in the first few days. So you need to at least that you will be able to survive on those days. And also, of course, including those basic, if you could, to have a generator or have some lighting equipment. Those are basic stuff that we need to prepare. And I think that's also important, which I did not mention, but it should be mentioned. This government should have a clear guideline so that people would know exactly how much and what we need to prepare during those crises. And this is also the last point, last remark I mentioned. I believe government do have a contingency plan. We have 叫全动署，叫什么全民动员署。I don't believe they have plan, but it is important that people should be informed of such plans. Like I said, the better we know, the more we can prepare for those difficult situations to come.
Thank you. Let me now invite Ambassador Franz Jensen.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thanks for a number of very interesting presentations. I was struck a bit by Chairman Wong, who made, I think it was Chairman Wong, who said the policy should be pro-US, friends with China. And earlier in the day, in the morning, we heard a number of presentations that said that in order to increase resilience in Taiwan, Taiwan should reduce the dependency on China. And we heard, for example, in one of the presentations that the import-export dependencies on China should be reduced in order to increase the self-sufficiency in Taiwan. So my question is there not a contradiction between friends with China and a conscious policy trying to create a stronger independence from China economically? And could China not perceive that as an unfriendly act?
So, do you have any specific person to?
Yeah, I thought Chairman Wong. Yeah.
I was saying there's a lot of technology improvement in China for the last 10 years, okay? And just look into what we have done in Taiwan, okay? There's no unicorn. Everybody know what unicorn means, okay? And we only have 护国神山. You know 护国神山 means? Only TSMC, okay? I was a long time suggest we need a 护国群山. We need a 护国 many mountains. Okay, but we really don't know right now what are our 护国群山. Then I analyze what's the major difference. What China can do, Taiwan cannot do. Okay, it seems to me that we are as smarter as the Chinese counterpart. The reason importance is suggested by our National Taiwan Industrial Federation. They are saying we lack of 5 shortage. Then I'm add on one more is 6 shortage, which is more important. We need more peaceful resolution between China. I don't want to see all the effort, especially a lot of lot of dollars spent on military expense. We should use those military dollars minimum for defensive purpose. A lot of military dollars can improve our 5 shortage, especially our people. Okay. Probably you don't quite understand our educational system. In our high school, the number of STEM hours is much reduced under the current educational system, okay, this is the major deficiency for our high-tech development situation. So therefore, I urge we should improve our human development, especially in the school, especially in those STEM section, which this will be contribute Taiwan's future technology product growth.
Yes, yes, please.
I think the chairman wants one of the point he said is about he says instead of preparing for the war, rather we should try to avoid the war. And so keeping a peaceful relations with mainland China is important, like we have done in the previous year. But this is not a conflict with what we said about reducing the dependence on China, because no country, no region should put everything on, like put all eggs in one basket. So we can keep a peaceful relation, work closely in lots of different aspects, but we still can keep a safe distance. So by reducing economic dependence on China, meaning that we can have a close relation, but we still keep a safe distance. And we could have international ties with other regions instead of totally depending on mainland China. Then we will be highly affected by whatever China happen, because it will become like an economic, like a network. They become a very powerful source. So any momentum coming from there could affect every country, regions that are connected to the center. So that's why we want to reduce, not cut down the relation. So that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah. Also, I can recommend one more comment. Okay. During the Chairman Ma Ying-jeou 时代, Ma Ying-jeou, no, Ma Ying-jeou 时代, okay, we have a very peaceful relationship between across the street. The people can come in force, back and forth. Even I remember the Chinese people say, the most beautiful things in Taiwan is Taiwanese people, okay? So why we cannot go back to that scenario, okay? Have a peaceful relationship between Taiwan and China without military compensation, without preparing for the war, okay? Save a lot of money, okay? This is things I'm pushing, I'm looking for.
Since we are under time pressure to close up, let me have the final questions from Emily, Georgia Tech, please.
Thanks so much. Hi everyone, I'm a PhD student from Georgia Tech, and I study the global adoption of digital payment infrastructure and its impact on security, including central bank digital currencies, which were mentioned during the presentation on financial resilience. And I'm wondering if you can shed some more light on what Taiwan's plan is for the adoption of central bank digital currencies, what that timeline would look like, and what steps would need to be taken by the government and society to ensure that the rollout is feasible and successful enough to be used in case of a crisis. Thank you.
I thought this is quite a profound question. Perhaps Professor Wang can take it, but please be concise. Hopefully after this, you can approach Professor Wang. She knows so much about the answers for that.
Okay, I think for many years, Central Bank of Taiwan has also developed the CBDC and is ready to actually, I think, implement some of the possible function to the retail market. And also in Financial Supervision Commissions, FSC, the intake of the roadmap of the intake continues for 5 years. So digital transformation of all the financial institutions, including what I have been mentioned about the digital payment, or we are talking about RWA right now, and then the development of blockchain and AI. These kinds of technology are actually encouraging. So I think we should thinking about more using profound model of technology to improve the financial market in the case of some disturb because of the war or some disturb of this kinds of war campaign fair. So military attack. So this would be, my point would be include in the risk management and also into the development of the industry as well, and then help all our company to grow and go out. Thank you.
Thank you. More you can approach Professor Wang for further details. I would reserve the final questions from the floor here. You have a raise. Please identify you representing media.
Kill the News. Thank you for taking my question. Could you please talk about one or two interesting highlights or outcomes from yesterday's 动次试, and which especially to semiconductors? That's the first question. And second question is, with TSMC's announcement of expanded investment in the United States, will this impact Taiwan's semiconductor commitment to Japan? Thank you.
Let me suggest, since we already arranged after this session, we will have a few members of this move meeting media separately. So then we would open this possibility. I know this question cannot be completed in 2-3 minutes. So if I may, please reserve this very important question. We would very much like to explore. Perhaps later, some of our members in the move can tell. So for now, yes.
But anyway, I was here yesterday afternoon on a semiconductor session. There's almost 95% questions are related to semiconductor, especially the 100 billion investment TSMC made in the States. They're going to build 5 fabs, design centers, and packaging centers. But I do have 2 questions. Whether this investment abroad has been approved by the Economic Affairs Foreign Investment Committee. Okay, probably this needs Minister Guo to answer this question. Second, I'm a little bit awkward. Mr. CC announced the investment in White House. It seems to me it's more proper to make announcement in Taiwan first before making announcement in White House. Okay, because so far TSMC already in base in Taiwan. This is only the 2 comments I made. And also, I was the chairman of the KTD Foundation, okay? And let me quote Morris Chen said, without KT Lee, there's no TSMC. So Taiwan, KT Lee, and all the peoples made a lot of contribution to the successful of the KT Lee. Therefore, we call it Hu Guo Shen San. Okay, it's very important to Taiwan industries. As you know, only one company, TSMC, is occupy probably 1/3 of the Taiwan's security company's market cap, 22% of the GDPs. It is very important to Taiwan.
Thank you. Perhaps later, if you want to dig in more, actually, except members in this move, there are also some leading experts in the audience. You can approach them, I'm pretty sure. Before we close up for this particular move, I would like to ask our dear friend Bill Stanton to ask a question, but we don't have time to leave for the response.
My question is, one underlying issue that I don't think has been addressed in this forum is that everyone seeks peace. Hong Kong sought peace and got a one country, two systems formula. That hasn't turned out so well. So I'd ask all those who are advocating a more peaceful relationship with China what their formula for successful relationship that would sustain Taiwan's freedom and democracy. That question I don't think has been answered.
Okay, very, very good. It is a long question, big question for every one of Taiwanese to ponder with. With this, let me announce that we need to conclude this particular move. Hope that we have provide different angle of analysis to be shared. But of course, according to the agenda, we need to move on to the next stage. I will invite every one of you a round of applause to thank all the members of this particular move. And after that, please proceed for the lunch arranged. And then the media will come over. Yeah, we will have a group photo immediately after this. Okay, thank you. Once again, all the members sitting on the two wings, please come closer to the middle, and we will take a couple minutes. Thank you.
你也给我在台北，我
改天去找你，我那个王国兴一直跟我说，我一定要来拜访你。对，他现在就
OK，好，那我放车。可以，那我拿去。好，谢谢。你见过我在高雄的时候？对呀，我就觉得你好眼熟哦。对耶，跟你打个招呼。哦，哎，好久不见，好久不见。好，我要先联访，对，稍等，拍一个。没关系，不用。谢谢。他就，哎，老师。
我们可以一起吗？我们一起吗？
在这里吗？
干嘛？谢谢。我进去好了，我进去。
Well, I don't think.
我不知道。我觉得这重点不是在川普有没有给台湾什么安全保证。当我们自己观察到，如果这个情势紧张，任何国家本来就应该有战略准备。所以我们刚刚主要的问题就是，我们平常有没有做好战略准备的规划？如果这个战略准备的话经过检讨不够，那我们是不是应该要扩大？这个川普保障我们，不保障我们，我想这些战略准备应该都是要的。
那问一下说，因为你刚刚谈到金融动荡的部分啊，那假如这个台积电如果因为舆论说变美积电，那我们失去这种富国神山之后，台湾的这个会很动荡吗？那台湾还有优势吗？
其实台湾还有很多优势，只是我们过去太 focus 在对台积电的投资。那当然，台积电现在做的事情，可能是因为在整个战略上，他做了一个他认为最好的 choice。可是我其实是很赞成王博源他提到的这个部分，是说我们应该有更多的护国群山。再来就是我们应该用金融市场的力量，让我们的经济还有金融市场能够成为就是比较永续，甚至在这个资安还有在整个的这个金融动荡的部分，我们可以用科技的力量跟更多一个风险管理上面的一个像我们今天讲的兵推，去考虑进来在平常的这个 management 跟risk management 的这个管理上面，我们就应该考虑到这部分。所以这是两个面向，台湾需要diversify， 然后也需要更多的一个注重，就 focus 上应该是要改变这样。
校长刚刚有提到，就是因为如果在战时的时候，我们的能源啊或者这些粮食啊，都是有些问题的。那你怎么看说就是但如果这个对中国大陆的这个贸易依存啊，那如果是下降好，还是在这种中美之间需要两方这个平衡？
这本来就是一个平衡的问题。我们现在并没有跟大陆处于任何战争状态。只是任何一个地区，我们都不应该把所有的经济重心太过度的集中在一个地方。所以，就像我刚刚在回答最后一个那边问题的时候，我提到跟中国大陆保持和平友好的关系，跟你减少对它依赖，这是一个不冲突的事情。我们只是要保护我们自己，让我们在应对困难的时候可以更有弹性。
我问一个时事，就是抱歉，就是有关于因为教育方面，现在因为谈到这个，
我靠，这也跳得太快了吧！
抱歉，因为两岸的这个教育现在好像有受阻当然就是教育部长郑英耀觉得说什么国防妻子啊等等啊，这个是不是不利于两岸的教育？
第一个，当然如果站在我们希望推动两岸更多认识、更多了解，我觉得大陆有非常多学生到台湾来，就像前几年一样，或者学校中间很多交流，也像前几年一样。坦白讲，我看不出它有任何的坏处。他特别选择的几个学校，一部分是2个原因，有3个学校是因为是跟统战部的关系，3个学校是因为跟国防工业有关。我倒觉得跟国防工业的地方，我们应该多来往啊，我们不是可以多偷一点东西来？那至于那个统战部的那个东西，坦白讲，大陆划分学校是有一些特殊的关系，是有它的传统，比如说有些东西传统上是归属于哪个单位支持，所以就划在那边。像暨南大学、华侨大学，因为传统是做华侨关系，大陆是把它归在统战工作这边。如果不叫统战，在我们台湾叫侨务工作，其实你就不觉得有这么可怕。所以这上面其实有点是看你自己的心里要怎么想。你觉得它坏，它就所有东西都坏了。
谢谢校长，谢谢。
这好像不是私事。谢谢。
高老师，你要在那边用餐吗？
这回我带走，因为我上菜。谢谢，感谢。
偷偷告诉大家，我最近发现了新法宝 Royal Face 逆时奇迹系列，它有活肤露、全效精华，还有精华霜。尤其我皮肤比较偏干，所以我非常的注重保湿。保湿做得好，肌肤自然烹润。提亮肤色更年轻，抚平皱纹超有感，而且气色变好。用心保养，每天都更美一点。美吧。